Hello and welcome to another adventure here on my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing and doing a couple tutorials with the Revolution Earth and Mars Reloaded palettes. So if you like playing with makeup and talking about the beauty community / industry just as much as I do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you'll be notified of all future content. So I actually didn't know these were a thing. These were not hyped at all in the beauty community, but I was on Revolution's website looking for something completely unrelated and I came across them and was like, those are gorgeous, and Revolution had an eyeshadow palette sale, and here we are. So these are their Maxi Reloaded palettes. They each have 45 shades in them, and I know Revolution has had not a great track record with their big palettes in the past. I have never tried one of their larger palettes before, but I did notice on their website that the other Maxi Reloaded 45 pan eyeshadow palettes were $18, while these were $25 a piece, not on sale. And I think that price increase is probably due to, a bit of a spoiler alert here, a quality increase, because I personally have really enjoyed these palettes so far. So let's get into some specifics. Both of these do have talc and mica as their first two ingredients, because I know one of you let me know you're sensitive to talc, so these do have talc in them. The Earth palette is very earthy tones, blues, greens, browns, and its sister palette, the Mars palette, is all of these pretty warm-toned fall shades. I mean, Pumpkin Spice Space Princess, anyone? The ultimate Pumpkin Spice Space Princess palette, but it has more to it than you would think at first glance, because I think they did a really good job with these color stories with, even though they definitely have a vibe and they really do have a palette cohesion, there is still a lot of variation with what you can do with these palettes. You can do a really neutral look with this Earth palette. You can do a very blue look, a very green look. There's some purpley tones in here. Like, there is some variety in here, and the shades they put in here are very unique. There's some gorgeous, really unique like green shades that I've really been loving. As far as the Mars palette, I mean, you can obviously get a very warm, orangey, fiery look. You can get a more toned down, warm tone look, but you can even get a cool toned look out of this. This pink tone look came from this palette. There's a purple, there's some pinks. You can really do a lot with both of these, which is good considering how big they are, but they do still maintain that color story cohesion that is a hard balance to strike in some bigger palettes. So I really like the color story of both of these. I mean, the packaging, I think it's super cute. I really like this packaging, how it has all the stars and moons on the covers, but it's not particularly fancy packaging. It's not like super high quality. It is the standard Revolution plasticky packaging. Now, both of these palettes have a lot of different formulas in them, so I'm gonna go through them one by one and give you my thoughts. So first we have matte shadows, and I had zero problems with any of the matte shadows in these palettes. They are pigmented, they are blendable, they are really nice. A couple of them were not quite as pigmented and needed to be built up 2 to 3 times. But that is just once in a while, and they do build beautifully. And by 2 or 3 times, I literally mean I had to dip my brush back in 2 or 3 times. I'm not sitting there forever building, so I really like them. Honestly, this matte blue may be the best matte blue I've ever worked with. It is so good. I don't know if a swatch will do it justice, but on the eye, I barely tapped into this shade, and just boom, all over my crease, all the pigment I needed. It blended out beautifully. It's such a good matte blue, like really, really freaking good shade. That one definitely did not need to be built up at all. The pink in this palette, this shade, did need to be built up a couple of times, but overall, these mattes are really nice to work with. I have no complaints. Then there is the usual shimmer formula, which is like these, the non-marbled shimmer shades. And I'd say between both palettes, this is the formula that has the most variation between the shades, because some of these shades just work beautifully. They're stunning right off the bat. I can pack it on with my finger. Beautiful, metallic, really nice. Some of them are a little more sheer and more of a topper type of shade, and then some of them, just a couple, I've not had a great experience with. There's one of them, I think it was this shade, that as soon as I put my finger into it, I got hard pan, and it's just kind of hard to pick up now. So I don't really like to see that. So I am gonna use that tape trick, and then next time try to remember just to use that shade with a brush and wet it instead. And I have had a couple of the other of those more normal shimmer shades in these palettes. look like they went hard pan immediately, but I didn't have any problem picking them up. So I really don't mind that as long as it still works. So of the formulas, this is the most hit and miss within the palettes, but there are definitely more hits than misses. As far as these gorgeous marbly shades, oh my goodness, these in both palettes, these marbly shades, stunning, beautiful. They're a step up more metallic and shimmery than the usual Revolution shimmers, though they're still not like out of this world amazing jadey glow kaleidos, none of that. Actually, I'm wearing this marbled shade, the pink one, on my lids now, and you can see it is pretty. It is a nice shimmer, but it's not amazing. But personally, I really like this formula. I primarily use this formula with my finger, and I haven't had any issues with the hard pan or the pigmentation or the shininess. I've really had no issues with these. There hasn't been any fallout. Like, I love this formula. It is so good. These are so pretty. Some of these marbled shades really do have sort of like a duochrome effect almost. It's not quite like a full flip, but you can definitely see in some lights the second shade mixed in more than in other lights and in other angles. I am so glad Revolution decided to make that formula. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, like this greeny red, so unique and pretty. What are some of the other like really nice ones? Ooh, this bronzy shade, oh, so nice. My favorite shade in this palette, this yellow. I mean, look at that. I love a yellow shimmer on the lid, and because this has those orangey streaks marbled in, it just gives it an interesting appearance. I don't know if it's coming across on camera well, but stunning color. I love that. In the Earth palette, there is one of these mattes with micro shimmer, but it literally is just this one shade, and it's a black and it has some sparkle, so I don't mind that. I kind of like, if it is the right shade, those sequiny type shades. I do like them, but if you don't like them, it is only the one, and it does have a matte black too. So even if you don't want to use this shade, you still have like everything you need as far as blacks are concerned. I do like that both of these palettes have multiple blacks in them. This one, as well as a matte black, has a shimmer black, which I think is really cool. I also like that it has that white going through it. Like, it's a cool shade. I like a black shimmer. I don't know why. I don't have a ton of use for it in my life, but I will find one because it's cool. And then finally, there are a few satins in these palettes. The Earth one has more satins than the Mars one, and they're fine. I personally don't really use satins that much. They're not my favorite. I actually prefer those sequined shades more than satins. They perform fine, they're pigmented, they blend fine, it's just not my thing. There isn't a ton of them. I've only come across 3 so far, even though I haven't used like all of the shades yet. I've tried to use a good amount that I feel confident in giving you this review, but this is 90 eyeshadows. It's gonna take me a while to be able to use every single one, but I have used a lot of them, and there's a few satins I'm not a huge fan, but it doesn't break either of these palettes for me because there's so much else I really enjoy about them. Now, even though they are very different color stories, and I didn't want to say, oh, this one's my favorite, because it's like, how am I going to choose between 2 completely different color stories and compare them like apples to apples? Which one do I like better? Because odds are, if you're interested in this one, it's because you want these warm tones. If you're interested in this one, it's because you want the blue and green tones. Like, there's no reason to compare. But the Mars one is definitely my favorite just because of the proportion of mattes in this palette. They both are shimmer heavy palettes, but this one has way more mattes than the Earth palette does. The Earth palette has, I'm counting 6 mattes. I may have missed 1 or 2, but it really doesn't have a lot of mattes. This is a very, very shimmer and satin heavy palette. So because of that, even though I really like these shades, I really like these greens because they are more interesting, it does limit my looks slightly. Whereas this one, because it has more mattes, I can just play more. So This one is my favorite between the two, but definitely nothing wrong with them. It's just personal preference why I don't like this one as much. However, because I was looking for more greens and more interesting greens to add to my collection, I still am glad I bought this and glad I have it for when I want to do green eye looks. And the tutorial I did with this palette is a really pretty neutral eye look with just an interesting green shimmer. It's really pretty and I really enjoyed that look. So I can still get absolutely beautiful looks out of this palette. I just find myself reaching for this one more. Also because this one does just feel a little more wearable to me. We're all kind of used to wearing orangey, red, and pink tones pretty frequently, but blues and greens can still be a little more out there. But overall, absolutely loving these palettes. So glad I decided to pick them up. And I'm just really glad to add these to my collection and have these to play with because they are super fun and really well done for large palettes. I'm pretty picky with large palettes and these two are A+. And I am gonna be doing one tutorial with each of these palettes so you can more see how these perform on the eye and maybe get an idea of a look you could do with these. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of inspiration with just the color stories alone, but in case you just want to see an example, let's go ahead and dive right on in. Alrighty, time for a tutorial with the Earth palette. So I'm gonna be doing something with the greens in here since there are such interesting, pretty greens, but it's not gonna be too fancy. It's not gonna be a really crazy like eyeshadow shape. It's gonna be pretty basic when it comes to that, but I still think it'll look really nice just because of the pretty tones in this palette. So I'm gonna start by going in with this light brown up here on the top row and just popping that into the crease. And now I'm just going in with a blank brush to buff out the edges. Now I'm going to take this matte dark brown from the second row and just pack that on the outer corner. And then I'm going back with that brush that I used for the crease, and I'm not adding any more pigment. I'm just blending the edges of that dark brown into the crease shade. Next, I'm going to go in with this olive shimmer from the bottom row of the palette, and I'm just taking that on my finger. And I'm going to put that on the outer half of the inner 2/3 of the lid, so the middle third. It kind of has some gold to it. It's a really pretty shade. And then I'm just going to take a little bit more of that dark brown and blend the shimmer into the brown. For the inner third, I'm going to go into this really interesting lighter olivey green from the second row of the palette. Ooh, I like that combination between those two shimmers. And I'm going to take a little bit of both of them on both my fingers and just try to blend them together. And then just blending a little bit in the crease. Since I already have black in my waterline from the first time I did my makeup today, I'm just going to add a little more black to touch it up. And then I'm just going to take the same browns I used in the crease and on the outer corner for the lower lash line. Just taking a blank brush to buff that out. For my inner corner, I'm going to use this white shimmer on the side of the palette, and oh my goodness, this is a beautiful inner corner highlight. It is very intense. I hope that's coming across on camera how pretty that is. And then for under my brow bone, I'm going to use the Revlon Skin Lights Prismatic Highlighter just for something a little bit softer, a little more champagne for under the brow bone. For mascara, I'm going to use this little sample of the Milk Kush Mascara. Now I was already wearing it, but what's on my lips is the Revolution X Soph lipstick in the shade Cake, and here is the finished look. I am so happy with this. Those greens, I think they're beautiful together and on their own, and I really like that you can do a more neutrally look and then just add a pop of a really pretty, really interesting green to make it a little bit extra, a little more than your average neutral look, or you could obviously go pretty dang colorful with this palette, but how I found I really enjoy using this is doing like a neutral crease and then something interesting on the lid. So now let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial with the Mars palette. Now it is time for a look with the Mars palette, and I think I'm going to do something that is not as obvious when you would first look at this palette, because it's pretty obvious you could do a really fiery orangey look with this, but there is some variation. Like there is more to this palette than just bright oranges. So I want to show that off, and I think I'm gonna do a pinky purpley look instead. So I'm gonna start by taking this matte pink shade and I'm gonna put that in my crease. And then I'm just taking a blank brush to blend out the edges. And now I'm gonna take a smaller tapered brush and I am going to go into, this purple on the bottom row here. And I am tapping that off because I don't want it to be too dark. And I'm just gonna put that in the actual crease and try to keep it more pointed where I have it, more precise where I have it. And then I'm taking that same purple and putting just a little bit on the outer corner and the inner corner of the lid. I'm not going to do a true halo eye, but I just saw Nicole Quinn do this technique and I thought it looked really pretty and wanted to try it, so I'm trying it. Just to give the eye a little bit of shape, even though I'm going to be going over both of those with the shimmer. I took that purple in a little bit further than I meant to on this eye, but oh well. This one is more what I was going for. But now I'm going to take this beautiful pink marbly shade from the top row of this palette, just on my finger, and I'm going to pack that all over the lid. And I'm not adding any more pigment to this brush. I'm just going to blend it through the crease to soften the edges. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this lavender over on the side of the palette, again just on my finger, and I'm just going to pop that right in the center of the lid to add a little bit of dimension. It doesn't do a lot, but I do think it makes a difference. Cleaning up the edges with CoverGirl CG Smoothers. For the waterline, I'm going to use my white eyeliner. This is ColourPop in the shade Exit, but any white eyeliner. And I'm going to use that pink I first started with for the lower lash line, just for the entire lower lash line. I'm not going to bring any other colors down onto it. Softening that with a blank brush. And for the inner corner, I'm going to use some of this shade right here. I don't really know how to explain this exactly. It's kind of a icy light taupe almost. For under the brow bone, I'm going to use my face highlight, the Revlon Skin Lights Prismatic Highlighter, of course. Mascara is going to be this little sample of the Benefit Bad Gal Bang Mascara. I like this so much more than the Milk one. This is probably my favorite high-end mascara I've ever tried. It's so good. I'm so glad I got the opportunity to try this. I just got this as my Ulta birthday gift this year. I forgot to curl my lashes. Oh well. On my lips is the Kylie lipstick kit in the shade Kylie, even though I was already wearing it. And here is the finished look. I've never done a pinky look from this palette before, but I really like how this came out. I think it's really cute. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments if you are interested in these palettes. Are you going to check them out? Are you going to pick them up? Let me know. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.